Most people spend their entire lives working for a paycheck or a like, but the rarest ones discover a hidden gear that changes everything. If you've ever felt stuck, tired, or just off, it's probably because you're trapped in the wrong level of motivation, and it's time to climb. We've all had those mornings where the alarm clock feels like a personal attack. You're lying there, staring at the ceiling, and the only thing that actually gets your feet to hit the floor isn't a grand vision or a sense of calling. It's the cold, hard reality of a mortgage, a utility bill, or the fear of a "we need to talk" email from your boss. Welcome to the survival trap. This is level 1, and while it's a place we've all visited, it's a dangerous place to live. When you're operating at the level of survival, your motivation is entirely reactive. You aren't running toward a goal, you're running away from a consequence. It's the do it or else stage of human existence. Think about the energy in an office where everyone is just punching the clock. There's a specific kind of heaviness in the air, a quiet, rhythmic counting down of minutes until 5 p.m. At this level, you do the bare minimum required to keep the lights on and the critics at bay. You aren't looking for ways to innovate or improve. You're looking for the exit. The problem with survival-based motivation isn't just that it's boring. It's actually toxic to your brain. When you move through the world out of fear or pure compliance, your psychological state is one of constant, low-grade stress. It's what researchers call controlled motivation. You feel like a pawn on a chessboard rather than the player. Because your focus is narrowed to simply avoiding trouble, your creativity effectively shuts down. You can't solve complex problems or think outside the box when your brain is stuck in a fight or flight loop, just trying to survive the Monday morning meeting. The trap is that survival is incredibly seductive because it feels safe. If you just do what you're told, you won't get fired. If you just follow the script, you won't get criticized. But this safety is an illusion. Staying here too long creates a kind of existential rust. You start to lose the connection between your actions and your identity. You become a ghost in your own life, moving but not actually moving forward. You're surviving, sure, but you're definitely not thriving. To break out of the survival trap, you have to realize that fear is a terrible fuel. It burns dirty and leaves a lot of soot in your soul. To move up, you have to stop looking at what might happen if you don't show up and start looking for a reason to show up. It requires a fundamental shift in perspective, moving from being a person who reacts to the world to a person who acts upon it. It's about realizing that while the do it or else mindset might keep you from failing, it will never, ever lead you to succeeding. You have to find a bridge to something more, even if that something more starts as something as simple as a bribe. So, you've decided that just surviving isn't enough. You've climbed out of the basement of pure fear and stepped into the world of rewards. This is level 2 and level 3, the world of carrots and mirrors. It's a place that feels a lot more energized than the survival floor, but if you stay here too long, you'll realize you're just running on a different kind of treadmill. First, let's talk about the carrots. Bribery. This is the world of if-then. If I hit this sales goal, then I get the bonus. If I finish this tedious report, then I get to treat myself to a fancy dinner. It feels productive, right? We love a good incentive. The problem is that bribery is a transaction, not a transformation. It's like putting high-octane fuel into a car with a leak in the tank. You get a temporary burst of speed, but the moment the reward is gone, the engine stalls. Think about it. Have you ever started a habit because of a reward, only to quit the second the reward stopped being exciting? That's because carrots narrow our vision. When we work for a prize, we stop caring about the work and start obsessing over the finish line. We look for shortcuts. We lose our peripheral vision. We stop asking, "How can I do this better?" and start asking, "What's the least I can do to get my gold star?" As the research shows, when we turn play into labor by attaching a price tag to it, we actually kill the very spark that made us want to do it in the first place. But then we move into the mirrors, approval. This is where things get really tricky because it feels so much like success. At this level, your motivation is the reflection you see in other people's eyes. It's the likes on your post, the great job from your boss, the "I'm so proud of you" from your parents. We are social creatures. We are hardwired to want to belong and be valued. There is a genuine warmth that comes from a round of applause. However, living for approval means you've effectively handed the remote control of your life to everyone else. You become a shapeshifter. You start making decisions based on what will look good rather than what is good. This is the birthplace of the perfectionist and the people pleaser. From the outside, it looks like you're winning. You're the top performer, the most reliable friend, the one who always says yes. But on the inside, it feels like a quiet, buzzing anxiety. Why? Because approval is a moving target. You're only as good as your last "well done." If your boss has a bad day and forgets to thank you, your motivation crashes. If the algorithm changes and your engagement drops, your self-worth follows it down. You're essentially outsourcing your drive to a crowd that is fickle and distracted. The exhaustion of this level comes from the constant need to perform. You're on a stage, and the lights are blinding. You spend so much energy managing your image and chasing the next hit of validation that you have nothing left for the actual craft. You aren't being fueled by your work. You're being drained by the need for the work to be noticed. To get past the carrots and mirrors, you have to do something radical. You have to stop looking at the prize and stop looking at the audience. You have to start looking at the work itself. You have to move from "how do I look" to "what am I building?" It's a jump from seeking validation to seeking excellence, and that's where the real game begins. If you're tired of the carrots and mirrors, and you're ready to stop performing for others and start building for yourself, I've got the perfect bridge to get you there. Check out my ebook, 30 Days to a Better You. It's a practical, step-by-step guide designed to help you break the cycle of external validation and reclaim your internal drive. Think of it as your personal manual for making that crucial pivot toward mastery. Click the link below and let's start building a version of you that doesn't need an audience to be great. So, you've stopped looking at the crowd and you've stopped waiting for the gold stars. You've reached the point where you realize that being a people pleaser is just a high-end version of being stuck. Now, you enter the high-energy, high-stakes world of the pivot point. This is the leap from level 4 to level 5. The moment you decide to trade the hollow hunger of ambition for the deep, soul-filling hunger of the craft. Let's look at level 4 first, achievement. This is the trophy hunter phase. It's fueled by the thrill of the win, the number one spot, and the desire to be the best in the room. Ambition is a powerful engine. It's the thing that gets you to stay up late and push past your limits. But level 4 has a dark secret that most successful people don't talk about until they're burnt out: the arrival fallacy. The arrival fallacy is that nagging lie we tell ourselves: once I hit that revenue goal, I'll be happy. Or once I get that promotion, I'll finally feel like I've made it. You chase the horizon, you finally reach it, and you feel amazing for about 20 minutes. Then the silence creeps in. You look around and realize the mountain you just climbed only gave you a view of a taller mountain. Achievement, when used as your primary drive, is like drinking salt water. The more you have, the thirstier you get. It's an endless loop of "what's next?" that never actually lands on "this is enough." The pivot point happens when you get tired of that cycle. You realize that you've spent years winning games you didn't even enjoy playing. You decide to stop being a winner and start being a master. This is the jump to level 5, growth. This is where the game fundamentally changes. When you move into the growth phase, the finish line starts to blur and eventually disappears altogether. You're no longer motivated by the trophy. You're motivated by the challenge. You're a runner who stops caring about the medal and starts obsessing over the mechanics of your stride. You're a coder who spends hours on a bug, not because you have to, but because the puzzle itself is too beautiful to leave unsolved. In the world of growth, you find the Goldilocks zone. This is that sweet spot where the task isn't so easy that you're bored, but isn't so hard that you give up. It's just right. It's the relentless pursuit of excellence. At this level, frustration isn't a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're on the verge of a breakthrough. You start to fall in love with the boring parts. The repetition, the deliberate practice, the tiny, incremental improvements that no one else sees. What's magical about this shift is that it's completely self-contained. You don't need a boss to tell you that you did a good job because you know you just nailed that paragraph or solved that technical hurdle. You are your own barometer of success. This produces a level of expertise that looks like magic to outsiders, but to you, it's just the result of years of being willing to be bad at something until you were good, and being good until you were great. When you trade ambition for growth, you stop worrying about beating the competition and start worrying about becoming the best version of yourself. You aren't chasing a result anymore. You are honoring the process. And once you taste that, once you feel the pure, quiet satisfaction of getting 1% better at something that matters, the old world of chasing likes and wins starts to look incredibly small. You've found the craft. Now, the only question is, who are you doing it for? You've mastered the craft. You've spent late nights in the Goldilocks zone, pushing your skills to the limit just for the sake of getting better. It feels great, but eventually, even the thrill of personal mastery starts to feel a bit lonely. You realize that being the most skilled person in a vacuum doesn't carry as much weight as you thought it would. This brings us to level 6, the service shift, or what we simply call purpose. At this stage, the spotlight moves. For the first 5 levels, the camera was pointed squarely at you: your survival, your rewards, your reputation, your wins, and your growth. But at level 6, you grab the camera and turn it around. You start looking at the people in front of you. You realize that your skills aren't just a trophy for your shelf, they are a tool for someone else's life. This is where motivation becomes fuel efficient. When you're working only for yourself, it's easy to quit when you get tired. You can negotiate with yourself. You can say, "I've done enough today," and go take a nap. But when you realize that your work is the bridge someone else is walking across, your perspective on tired changes. Purpose is the ultimate antidote to procrastination. It's hard to put off a task when you can see the face of the person who is waiting for the result. Research actually backs this up. People who feel a sense of purpose, who believe their work makes a contribution to others, don't just work harder, they recover from stress faster. They have more grit. Think about the nurse who has been on her feet for 12 hours. What keeps her going isn't a bonus or a gold star. It's the person in room 302 who needs her. Think about the teacher who spends his weekend grading papers. It's not for the approval of the school board, it's because he knows a specific kid is finally starting to understand the material. The beauty of the service shift is that it doesn't require you to be a martyr or a world saver. Purpose doesn't have to be grand with a capital G. You don't have to be solving global warming to be operating at level 6. It can be much closer to home. It's being the teammate who never lets the ball drop. It's being the designer who makes an app just a little bit more intuitive so a frustrated user has an easier day. It's the writer who shares a story because they know someone out there feels a little less alone when they read it. At this level, you stop asking, "What can I get from this?" and start asking, "What can I give through this?" This shift is incredibly liberating because it kills the ego. When the work is about serving others, you stop worrying so much about being judged. If you trip or make a mistake, you don't dwell on your bruised ego. You just get back up and fix it because the mission is more important than your pride. Purpose transforms the labor of level 1 into a calling. It takes the achievement of level 4 and gives it a soul. When you find your purpose, you're no longer just moving through the world. You're helping the world move. You've moved from wanting things from the world to being the person the world wants. But even here, there is one final ceiling to break through, a place where purpose and mastery merge into something entirely new. We have reached the summit. You've navigated the fear of survival, the trap of rewards, the noise of approval, the hunger of ambition, the focus of growth, and the weight of purpose. Now, all those threads begin to weave together into a single, unbreakable cord. This is level 7, the driver's seat, or the ultimate state of freedom. When we talk about freedom in the context of motivation, most people imagine a beach, a laptop, and no one telling them what to do. But true level 7 freedom is much deeper and more interesting than just an empty calendar. It's about autonomy. It's the transition from being a passenger in your own life to being the one with your hands firmly on the wheel. At this peak, you have achieved what psychologists call an internal locus of control. You are the author of your own story. Up until now, your why has been at least partially tethered to the outside world, whether it was avoiding a boss, chasing a check, or even serving a specific audience. But at level 7, you've integrated everything. You have the mastery to do the work, the purpose to make it matter, and this is the key: the autonomy to decide exactly how that looks. People operating at this level are rare, and they are unmistakable. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait to be picked by an editor, a manager, or a gatekeeper. They pick themselves. If there isn't a path, they build one. If the current systems don't allow them to fulfill their purpose, they invent new systems. This is the space where movements are started and legacies are built. It's the entrepreneur who builds a company not just to flip it for profit, but to change how an entire industry treats its people. It's the artist who creates something so original that there isn't even a category for it yet. What's remarkable about this level is how it handles the noise of the world. At level 7, you still receive feedback. You still get recognition. You might even still get the gold stars and the bonuses. But, and this is the most powerful shift of all, you don't need them. Your fuel is now entirely internal. If the applause stops tomorrow, you keep going. If the rewards disappear, you keep going. Why? Because the act of doing the work is the freedom. You are doing exactly what you were meant to do, exactly how you choose to do it. This is where work stops being a thing you do and starts being an expression of who you are. The hardship and the sacrifices don't disappear. In fact, people at level 7 often work harder than anyone else, but the burden is gone. When you are the author of your struggle, the struggle feels like a privilege. You aren't grinding, you are becoming. Research shows that people at this level report the highest levels of life, satisfaction, and meaning, even when their lives are objectively difficult. They have answered the 3 big questions. Am I in control of my life? Am I getting better at something that matters? And am I making a difference? When the answer to all 3 is yes, you've reached the magic. So, here is the big question. Where are you standing right now? Are you dodging a do it or else email at level 1? Are you chasing a like at level 3? Or are you starting to feel the pull of level 5 mastery? The good news is that you aren't stuck. These levels aren't a life sentence, they're a map. You move up by noticing the walls of your current level and deciding that you're ready for more. The climb isn't always easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. But as you move from the bottom to the top, from survival to freedom, something incredible happens. You don't just become more productive. You don't just become more successful. You finally, for the first time, become fully alive. Now, take the wheel. The road is yours.